Okay, I think we're on. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to my little recording that is meant to help you understand and process the different principles related to our subject, which is entrepreneurship. I found that it is better that I would record a video for everyone instead of having live synchronous classes every week, because not everyone has the same type of quality when it comes to being accessing the internet. So some have really poor internet reception, and that, well, most of Filipinos rather have poor internet reception. And also the fact that when it rains, our internet gets shady. So there are some things that I'll be talking about that not everybody on the Google Meet will be able to catch. So I found that it's better to perhaps just record a video and then have the students view it when they know it's the best time to access videos. Some of us very early in the morning, or some very late at night. So you are at liberty to view the video at any time, as long as you review the video before we have our live synchronous consultation or recitation sessions. All right, so let's begin. The last time that we had some form of discussion like this, with me talking to everybody in the class, I was having recitation, and the topic at hand during the recitation was, and let me quickly navigate and share my screen. Well, we talked about this one. We talked about the evolutionary development of entrepreneurship. We talked about entrepreneurial mindset, and then lastly, innovation, the creative pursuit of ideas. So just for a quick recap, we entered into chapter 1, and look at how shady my internet is already. The historical development of entrepreneurship, definition of entrepreneurship, and the top 10 myths that we were able to debunk last time. So for the sake of introduction, I asked you guys what were your business ideas if you ever had the chance to put up a business, and it was so interesting to hear some of your thoughts. A lot of you want to become accountants. A lot of you don't want to have your own businesses. But for those that did want to become business owners, I was really surprised with the ideas that you had, even at a young age. So it was really nice to hear all of that. And then I explained why some people might not want to become entrepreneurs. It's because of certain wrong thinking about entrepreneurship. And then I explained to you what makes an entrepreneur. Next, I differentiated an entrepreneur from a small business owner. And as you guys should be familiar by now, it's really all about the mindset. Small business owners just want to, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to just be a small business owner, but if you do want to change the world, then being an entrepreneur would be the way to go. Small business owners just think about their immediate sphere of influence, whereas business entrepreneurs, they really want to affect the economy in a way that's large scale. So it's up to you. It's up to you with the resources that you have, financially, time, and yeah, I blanked out there. And then the entrepreneurial process, and then very slow internet, but that's okay. At least we still have internet. The history of entrepreneurship. We talked about where that word is from. It's from a French word called entreprendre, which means to undertake. And then we saw that back in the 18th century and the 20th century, it's still the same. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you must be risk-bearing. You must dare to take risks. All right. And then we talked about the definition of entrepreneurship. Next, this is just, I'm not going to go through each of them because, like I said, this is just a review of the discussion I had last time. We talked about 10 different myths related to entrepreneurship, and we had busted or debunked them. So after chapter 1, I moved on to information in chapter 2, which talks about the characteristics found in successful entrepreneurs. And I told you from 1 to 42 to look at all of them and see which one you might be growing in. And for those of you that say, you know what, I have 0 of characteristic number 12 or 0 of characteristic number 35, that's okay. Because like I said, characteristics are things that a lot of us may be born with, but for those of us that are not born with a certain characteristic, it can be nurtured. If it's really a matter of the will. So if you really want something, you will work hard to get it. And if you work hard enough, you pray that the Lord will give you that gift. He should, he might be pleased to give you that, as long as you also put the hard work in that's necessary to get to that point or level of maturity in the development of a certain characteristic. Okay, and then after that, we talked about, well, I told you guys to read about all of these successful entrepreneurs, then persistence related to being an entrepreneur. And then the second learning objective was about the dark side of entrepreneurship, the different types of risks that entrepreneurs feel, and then the different types of stress, and also how to handle it. It's not an exhaustive list, but it's most of what entrepreneurs feel in common. So we started with the different risks: financial, career, family, and social, and lastly, psychic. And then we talked about the type of stress, loneliness, business problems, immersion in business need to achieve. And then negative effects of an inflated businessman's ego. So overbearing need for control freaks out there. Sometimes they're not really out there. Sometimes that's us, not all the time, but I'm sure that each one has a degree of being a control freak. And then sense of distrust, overriding desire for success, and unrealistic optimism. And you know what? This is not just limited to being, these are not just negative effects to any businessman's ego, but even as students, we are guilty of all of these for maybe not as bad as some businessmen, but the fact is the seeds are within us. And if we don't control that, if we don't ask God for help, wala yun, it's going to spiral and just get worse in the next few years. So we have to learn to deal with all of these stressors. And I talked about 7 different ways to deal with stress. So networking, getting away from it all, because sometimes you don't have to end things, you just have to take a break from them. Then communicating with employees, finding satisfaction with employees, finding satisfaction outside the company. Don't let the company be everything to you. And then delegating, because God made people for a reason, not just one person. So we are meant to live with and work with other people. And then lastly, exercise rigorously. And I added eating well, because what we put into our body and what we do to our body affects our mind. And so those are the different ways to deal with stress from your book, and a little sprinkle of wisdom from me, the eating well part. And then after chapter 2, we went on to chapter 3. Real quick, chapter 5 that was, which is about innovation. So the first learning objective was to look into how to develop creativity, which is really basic. Brainstorm, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I told you guys to read through it at home as your assignment. And then lastly, I went through the four major types of innovation, which is invention, extension, duplication, and synthesis. And I was really pleased with the business ideas that you guys gave me, because a lot of you actually went on to do more of duplication and synthesis. So I was really surprised and pleased that a lot of you took in the information that I discussed from the second time that we met for entrepreneurship. So that's about it for the first discussion session that we had about 2-3 weeks ago. So now I'm gonna move on to the notes that I had shared with you guys. And let's try to navigate our Zoom, new share. After that, I went on to share with you my notes for Chapter 3. And when it came to Chapter 3, it's basically about marketing. So both strategic and tactical. So I had asked you guys, and we just concluded consultations related to strategic marketing. And by next week, we are going to enter into tactical marketing. Now, I was surprised that a lot of the students messaged, well, a few students, but they were enough for me to feel the need to really discuss once again concepts that I thought were thoroughly discussed and concepts that I thought were already ingrained in the minds of the students. But I thought to myself, nah, you know what, marketing was something that we taught halfway through traditional way and then the rest of the semester online. So perhaps while I understand these concepts myself, maybe the students had a difficult time learning them through modules. So it's best to just have a video of discussing everything that's on here. And I will be also discussing not just strategic marketing, but also tactical marketing. So I hope that this video benefits you guys, and that you can just go back to it every time you find something to be confusing. So let's begin with our discussion. So here goes. There. So share. There you go. Introduction to Marketing Research. So after Chapter 2 of the project feasibility study, we enter into Chapter 3, which is all about marketing. And when it comes to marketing, we must do market research. And you guys might be asking why? Why should we conduct market research? What's the importance? Well, it's really basically, it's very simple. If you want, kung gusto nyo makuha yung oo ng isang tao, okay? You cannot just go and show up as yourself, okay? It's important that you go, find out everything you can about the person, everything that they like, they don't like, and the different things or people that influence that person. See what the opportunities are, see what the threats are. And based on all of that data, you're gonna use that to make informed decisions on your part. You're gonna use that to make strategies on your part. So that once you pursue that person, well, this is in the context of marriage, once you pursue that person, you really did all that you can to get the person to say yes. And in business, what we try to do as businesses is that we want people to say yes to us. We want them to use our products, be it be a good or a service. And even if we have a very brilliant idea, if we don't ask the group of people what they want, or the group of people that we want to serve, we don't ask them what makes them happy, what they want, what they don't want, well, no matter how brilliant we think the idea is, they're not gonna pay for it, then no business transaction, our business is gonna fail. So it's important to conduct market research so that we can make informed business decisions and not grope in the dark and move on without without having been intelligent about the way that we conducted business. Okay, so we have 5 learning objectives, 5 major learning objectives, and each learning objective has a lot of concepts under it. The first one is to introduce the new marketing concept for entrepreneurs from 4 P's to 4 C's. Review the common pitfalls in the selection of new venture ideas. So common pitfalls in when it comes to figuring out what you should be doing in your new business, what industry, what type of product to offer. And then number 3, present critical factors in new venture development. So, oh no, I didn't get to edit that section. Present critical factors in new venture development. What are the different things that influence businesses heavily, especially startup businesses? And then number 4, why new ventures fail. So we're going to talk about just that. How come when you've given everything, it still fails? Sure. So we're going to be talking about that. Those are the 4. And lastly, the 5th, we will be reviewing various concepts related to product, price, place, and promotion strategies. Review, because this is this has been discussed last semester during marketing, and we also even discussed this during MGT. So for those of you who were under me in both MGT and marketing, you know, bubog sarado na mo sa product, price, place, and promotion. That's why when I gave the PFS guide with a rubric, I was confident that a lot of the students would understand. And a lot of students did, but significant enough number of students that messaged and said, Miss, I'm having a hard time. Thus the video. Okay, so I'm gonna try not to talk so much so that the video doesn't last for more than an hour, because it sucks to just be sitting for more than an hour. All right, so marketing concepts. We all know that the 4 P's of marketing are product, price, place, and promotion. But according to the book that we are using for the semester, there should be a shift from 4 P's to 4 C's. Now, should you throw away the 4 P's that you learned? No, okay? It's just that when it comes to product, price, place, and promotion, we should also think about the fact that we live in a certain context. And what context is that? It's the speed of transactions being higher, dynamic, meaning changing all the time, and it's happening right here and right now, thanks to globalization. So in a demand-based economy, entrepreneurs must realize that the customer is in control. Customer is king, and therefore drives business decisions. This fact requires a reconceptualization of the marketing mix from customer-centric, which is 4 P's, to customer-made, meaning we create strategies that not only we think would be best, but what we know would be best based on what customers says is best for them. Okay, so from product, it's no longer going to be something we want to give to them, but it's gonna have to be something both created by the business and also the customer. So we are gonna ask them, oh, what do you like about the product? What don't you like? What do you want added to the product? So from product to co-created. And then next, from place to choice. So we are no longer just going to be thinking about, oh, we're going to put up a branch there because there's high traffic, it's near the airports and seaports, but we have to ask people, what do you want? How do you want the product to get to you? Do you want it through a physical branch that you will be visiting to personally buy items, or do you want us to send it to you? But to send it to you, should this be done through a telephone call? Should this order be done through an email? Should it be done through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Lazada, Shopee? And then when it's sent to you, unsaman, how are you gonna pay for it? So then we enter into price. So when it comes to the price, of course, we have to think about costs. But there are also options on how to pay for items these days that weren't so popular, let's say a decade ago. And some of them include cash on delivery, especially for small items. Of course, cash on delivery has been around for quite some time now. However, it used to be for large items because who would care to um, go to each and every customer and singil over there for like a very small amount. But these days, you can buy something worth 200 or 300 pesos and you can pay for it via cash on delivery. And then also there are other ways to pay like GCash, credit card, PayMaya. The possibilities are just expanding. And so when it comes to price, it must be also customizable by the customer. Okay, and then lastly, from promotion of just getting the word out there, now we are trying to promote communities. So it's not just about feeling good and making people feel better or more desirable, uh, especially for products that are self-oriented, but you're trying to create a product that will not only change one person, but is going to affect the whole community in a positive way, of course. So right now, that's how promotions are being geared. That it will not only affect or improve the life of one person, but especially um, those that are within you, those that are part of the business's society. Okay, so that's basically it. The shift from 4Ps to 4Cs. All right, so market research. I think it's pretty plain that if we have no buyers, then we have no business. Okay, but if that is very plain and almost common sense to everybody, we would be asking the question, how come only a few people conduct market research or market analysis? So many entrepreneurs know very little about their market, and some even attempt to launch new ventures without identifying any market. Okay, so that's really the problem. People think that, oh, I have a good idea, and just because you think it's good, you think that it's going to be good in the eyes of others also. So that is not how we should go about in business. You invest so much money, time, even your relationships are sacrificed. Tapos yun, it's just going to fail because you never studied the market. You never found out what made them happy. So how can you make them happy if you don't know what really makes them happy, and you're just giving them something that you think is going to make them happy because that makes you happy? That doesn't make sense. So you have to go and ask what makes them happy. So that's basically market research. So a number of techniques and strategies can assist entrepreneurs to effectively analyze a potential market. And that's what we've been trying to do since day one, since last sem even. So by using these different types of techniques and strategies, entrepreneurs, businessmen, and you guys as researchers gain in-depth knowledge about the specific market and then translate this knowledge into a well-formulated business plan, or in our case, feasibility study. Effective marketing analysis also could help a new venture position itself and make changes that will result in increased sales. So, we are going to make changes, tayo yung a-adjust para mag-i-increase yung sales natin. And the key to this process is all marketing research. So that's really why it's important to embark in the journey that is marketing research. So now, let's talk about pitfalls in selecting new ventures. The first one out of the 6 different pitfalls is lack of objective evaluation. So don't just fall in love, check for flaws. So sometimes new businesses, they fail or they start out tagilid because there's this person, a businessman, super in love with a business idea, and then they think that it's already perfect when it's quite obvious that there are things that are not quite complete or kanang naluto na gyud ba, and then suddenly they launch the business. Okay, Sabi pa ni, ani pa ni Selena Gomez, I saw the signs and I ignored it, diba? That's what she said in her song for Justin Bieber. So yeah, sometimes businesses fail, even relationships fail because there are obvious telltale signs that medyo kuwang pa man unya puguson yun. So we have to evaluate our businesses independent of our feelings lang sa. And this should be done not just by you, but you bring in other people who you know love you, but they love you so much enough to tell you what might be wrong with you and your idea. So there we go. We have to have an objective evaluation so that our business is not going to fail. And then number two, no real insight into the market. So when you don't find out what are the new, growing, mature, and declining products existing in the market and where you might fit in, then that can also cause for your business to fail. So, unsa man nimo paglugar kung di sa nimo tan-awon asa kaangay mo lugar diha? 'Di ba? As a business owner, kay basin puno na kayo diha nga saturated na kay ang market. So ayaw pag-enter diha. Dili na lang ka kay wala pa nakahuna-huna ani nga idea or wala pa ni hatag sa market ani nga produkto. So how are you going to figure that out if you just like, oh, hello, here I am, buy from me? No, you have to go and do market research para alam mo saan ka lulugar. Okay, number three, inadequate understanding of technical requirements. So, is this design realistic, scientifically possible, easy to fix? So sometimes we come up with a business idea that we think is just so innovative, but we also fail to be realistic about the different hurdles that there might be technology-wise, technically speaking. So when we have an idea, we have to go and ask the experts, is this feasible? Is this realistic? Smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time bound. So make sure that the technical requirements have all been sorted out before you say, hey, I have a product. Because one of the worst things that can happen to you is you promise so many things to a market only for you to fail on that promise because your product broke down. And I'm sure you guys have had experiences like that when you bought something and it looked so promising, but then the first week or second week, wala na, sira na. So there you go. That's also one of the reasons why business ventures fail. Number four, poor financial understanding. So do you have enough money to fund the plans and the possible necessary detours for your business? So one of the reasons why businesses also fail is that there's not enough money. And they found out about that a little too late. Okay, so when you go into creating your own business, starting your own business, you have to make sure that you have sufficient capital, sufficient money to be able to roll out operational expenses. And then, for example, like during pandemic, I know that there are businesses that started early January only to be in shock that by March, they had to stop operating. So if you do not have enough money or you don't know how to patuyok the kwarta, well, you would end up closing your business. And it's even surprising how businesses that we thought were liquid, meaning they had a lot of cash, they had a lot of assets to be able to cover whatever debt or cover for the meantime while they have no income. A lot of them closed. Businesses that have been around for even 20 plus years ended up closing because they didn't have the financial strength to continue on during the pandemic. So yeah, it's not just for new ventures, but even for ventures that have been existing for quite a while. If we have poor financial understanding of our business's financial health, then this could mean doom for us. All right, so that's number four. Number five, lack of venture uniqueness. So if you're just like everyone else, why should I buy from you? One of the reasons also that businesses fail is that, oh, makakita ka nga, uy, nindot lang yun ang business idea, ako pod. Dili ba yan na pwede nga murag magtundog-tundog lang ka because if magtundog-tundog lang ka, then nga ikaw may pilion kaysa Antonia nga mas nakauna man ganito siya. Unya, what am I nakalahi ninyo? You're just the same. So as a business, you have to give that unique selling proposition. You have to have that thing that makes you different and therefore makes you better than them. So if you are just like everybody else, then why should we choose you? So make sure that there's something unique about your business that can't be easily duplicated by everybody else. Okay? And then number 6, ignorance of legal issues. So much laws. Nag-comply ka na ba, Ani Kim Chu? So ignorance of legal issues. Sometimes, some businesses end up closing. Why? Because naaday mga wala nila na comply. Okay? And we know nga, ABS-CBN is one of them. You know, people are going to say na, comply by etc., etc., etc. But, you know, that's just one example about a business closing down. A business that's worth, I don't know, even billions of money. And just one day after running for decades and decades, they closed. And this doesn't happen just to big businesses, but this can also happen to small businesses. I know that there are some nga ma-shock sila kay na sila wala na bayaran sa BIR, nagka-penalty. Tungod kay wala ikabayad sa penalty, sira. So one of the reasons that businesses also fail is ignorance of legal issues. So you have to make sure that you talk to your bookkeeper, you talk to your lawyer, you talk to everybody that you know is knowledgeable about business and all the permits, or else you will find yourself in a dilemma and maybe end up closing the business that you have so worked hard for. Okay, so dapat alam natin yung law. If you want to play the game, and if you want to win the game, you need to know the instructions. You need to know the law. Okay, so critical factors for new venture development. So of course, there are 3 phases. We have pre-startup, before we start a business, and then startup when we start running the business, and post-startup, this is when the venture has to go. The venture has to end for various reasons. So critical factors during the pre-startup and startup phases. Number 1, relative uniqueness of the venture. Do you need new process technology to produce and service new goods and services? Now, I read your papers, and then a lot of you have new ideas. You have to make sure that just because you have a different product doesn't, a new and interesting idea, it doesn't mean nga dali rasad kayo na siya mahimo. You have to make sure that you have the processes, and then that you know the specific processes, and you know how to manipulate technology in a way that you will achieve the end in view that you have for your product. Okay. The number 2, relative investment size at startup. So will industry growth be sufficient to maintain break-even sales to cover a high fixed cost structure during the startup period? And do the principal entrepreneurs have access to substantial financial reserves to protect a large initial investment? So sometimes, well, most of the time, when we start up a business, we really shell out a lot of money, okay? But is the industry that you are going to enter to big enough, okay? Daghan ba, dako ba kayo ang market? Daghan ba mo palit sa imong produkto enough nga maka-break even ka? Or basig nag-invest lang ka, nya di ay to wala kaayo kay customers nga makaboost nga mopalit sa imuha para enough nga mo-break even ka. Okay? And then in an event when there is a problem, like right now, pandemic, do you have enough money to protect a large initial investment? So if you spent so much already atong January, February, dayon pagka March nag-pandemic, do you have enough money para dili mo masirado, or if nangutang mo, unya pagkaman dili mo makabayad sa next X months because sira sa government, unya pagkaman mo ana dili maluoy ang inyong giutangan, moingon nga kwaon na to nako imong gi-collateral or kadto imong gipalit gamit ang kwartang imong hinumuan nako, ako ana siyang bawion, ako siyang kwaon, unya ikiha pati ka. So most of the time nakakuyaw, we have to make sure that we have enough money and that there is also enough demand for our products so that we don't go bankrupt. So relative investment size at startup. And then number three, expected growth of sales and or profits as the venture moves through its startup phase. So what is the growth pattern anticipated for new venture sales and profits? So kita, when we enter into a business, we have to do financial projections. What are our estimated sales? And then we will compare that to actual sales so that we can estimate once more in the next year saan atong sales. Kay base ana, mag-agad ta sa ato ang expenses. Okay? So, di man gud pwede nga magpataka lang ka gasto, pagaman walay kwarta nga nagsulod. So, we have to always try to measure even our potential sales. That's what we need to do pre-startup and during startup. Number four, availability of products during the pre-startup and startup phases. Do you have enough stock? Do you have enough stock? Is the quality good or was it rushed? Okay, so sometimes we are so excited to launch our product, bahala na, only for the market to be upset because gidali-dali nimo agoy didto wa na nagkadimao ang imong produkto. Either nga it failed, na siya guba-guba, and then they return it and say, oh my, kay mo na maligyan, indot kay mo ni promote sa amo pero dili ready maguba ang inyong product anang awayon mo. Or you will try your product is going to sell like hotcakes, and then everybody wants a piece of your product pero ang inyong kaya nga i-produce diha kataman. So people will get mad numrag, tuga-tuga mo nga mamaligya mo niya pero nilang mawalay stock. Have you ever encountered that? I think you guys, some of you might have encountered that. So we have to make sure that our products are available when we during pre-startup and especially during startup. Na supply can meet demand. Okay, and then number five, availability of customers during the pre-startup and startup phases. Are there customers who are not only interested but also capable of buying? Now, alam naman natin na maraming interesado pero hindi naman pala capable. When it comes to the market, there might be a lot of people who would want to buy your product if only they had money. And I'm sure that we also know how this feels. I'm sure that there are stuff that you guys want to buy if you only have the money. So when you have a business, you have to estimate the market size, not just based on potential buyers, okay? But those who are also capable buyers. People who are not only interested, but may pera din, may key, okay? So, gusto nila yung product mo and they have the money to back up that desire. So make sure that you check the market. It's not just people that are wishfully thinking, but people who are capable of making their wishes come true by buying your product. All right. So now let's move on to several reasons why new ventures fail. Okay, and then the first one is poor timing. A premature entry into the marketplace contributed to failure in 40% of the cases studied. This is from your book. So I'm sure you guys also believe that sometimes it's the good thing, but at the wrong time. So we have to make sure that we enter into the market, we sell a certain product, either a good or a service, at the right time. And that involves market research, okay? Number two, your design problems. Although these may be related to timing, product design and development became key factors at earlier stages of the venture. When the essential makeup of the product or service changed, failure resulted. So ayaw mo og launch og product na ang iyang design, dili pa mo sure na foolproof siya. Okay, nga inigamit sa tao, masabtan gyud siya, maskin sa tao nga walay grado or sa tao nga murag laon sa man nila ko. Ana. And then make sure that the design is also easy to understand. And it's made in a way that is robust, made in a way that is going to withstand certain ways of handling it. Or else, the customers are just gonna come back and say, katuga-tuga ra mo release og something, awati aw mo na nasunog akong balay or naguba or naunsa sila there was some damage that was incurred on their end because of your product. So you want to make sure that all design problems have been tackled before you release an item. And in fact, there are some industries that are very wealthy and all they do is test a product. I know here in Cebu, there in MEPSA, there are businesses there that they exist just to test products like mga cell phones from Samsung and all other Android-based companies send it to a certain company in here in Cebu. And this company, with all their engineers, exhaust the cell phones, exhaust all these products, try to find every single thing that could go wrong so that that data will be used for redesigning a phone that is not going to just clunk on the customers once it is launched to the market. So make sure that lahat ng areas na pwedeng magkamali, finix nyo na para nag-aabot sa iyaha, okay na lahat. Okay? And then number 3, inappropriate distribution strategy. Whether it was based on commission sales, representatives, or direct sales at trade shows, the distribution strategy had to be geared toward the product and customer. So sometimes, guys, it's not the product that's the problem, but the way that you distributed it. And I think one popular movie is a testament to this. I forget the title, but it was the one with Alex, not Alex. What's her name? You know katong Paris ni Emboy. Hey Google, who is the star of Kita Kita?
Empoy Marquez.
Yeah, Empoy and Alessandra De Rossi. I think it was Alessandra. Yes, thank you. I think it was Alessandra De Rossi and Paolo Contis. Hey Google, what movie was Alessandra De Rossi and Paolo Contis a part of?
Through Night and Day.
Through Night
According
and
to
Day.
NME.com.
Okay.
In Through Night.
So I think I haven't seen the movie, but you guys probably saw that Netflix started streaming Through Night and Day, and all of a sudden it became a huge hit. And everybody who produced that movie, who worked on that movie, including the actors and actresses, were pleasantly surprised that a movie that they did 2 years ago did so well. And why did they do so well? And why didn't they do so well 2 years ago? The answer is distribution strategy. So it didn't work on the big screen, but it worked when kanang sa malls, kanang mga cinema. But the movie worked when Netflix showed it. So when they decided to use the online platform instead of the traditional platform, and then wala, grabe kay silang sales from the streams through Netflix. So sometimes, guys, it's hindi naman ikaw yung problem. It's not the product, but it's just how we made the product available. That was the problem. Okay. So number 4, let's move on. I'm trying to be conscious of the time so that I don't bore you for 1 hour plus. Ugh. I know how that can feel sometimes, guys. So I'll try to move on quickly. 4, unclear business definition. So uncertainty about the exact business they were in caused these firms to undergo constant change and lack stabilization. So mahirap talaga yung walang label. Diba? Yung hindi mo alam, ano ba talaga? And it's the same with the business. If you don't really know what your main product is or unsa gyud dapat ang number 1 nga kakitaan sa imong business, maglibog ka. Kung naglibog ka, maglibog sa nang imong customer. So make sure may label. Make sure na you are clear about what your business really is, what it stands for, why it exists, and what it wants to contribute to the society. Number 5, over-reliance on one customer. This resulted in a failure to diversify and brought about the eventual demise of some of the firms. The financial difficulties category involved the following factors. Now, I didn't include the following factors, but This over-reliance on one customer has been the reason why a lot of businesses also failed, because actually 80% of the money of a company usually comes from 20% of their clients. This is just an observable phenomenon for most of the businesses all around the world. But the problem is, if you super rely on just one person, na parang lahat-lahat na lang ng existence ng business mo para sa kanya, okay? When that person fails, when that person leaves, what's gonna happen to you? When that business relationship is cut, pero yun, you neglected all the other clients that you had. You neglected all the other business relationships that you could have had because you just served one customer lang. Finokus mo yung buong buhay mo sa kanya. O, pag iniwan ka na, ano na? Charette. So, you guys get me. When you have a business, you should not rely on just one customer or one source of income. You have to make sure na diversify na yung source of income through different revenue streams and through different clients, so that when one leaves, you still have the rest. Now, this does not apply for relationships by hanga ka na collect and select. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. But make sure that all the relationships are happy and met, and you don't idolize just one company or one person for that matter. Okay? And then initial undercapitalization. It has contributed to failure in 30% of the case studies. Sometimes we love a business idea so much, we launch it even if we don't have enough money to sustain it. So ayaw sad ana, save up for it. You want manggod nga when you launch a business, dili kuwang-kuwang. Mura gud nang nagluto kag sudan ba? Unya, mao ni tanan recados, mao ni tanan ang ingredients. Unya mo yung carbonara, namaligya kong carbonara, creamy, cheesy, whatever, blah blah blah. Unya inig-serve sa carbonara, luspad kaayo. Walay unsa may asa mang cheese ani niyo, yung nga ay kuwangan mo gud koy money. Pero cheesy na siya, may pagka, nya may kay ka naka-ingon nga grabe ka cheesy among carbonara niya pagkahuman in actuality kay kuwang ang imong money sa ingredients para makabaligya sa imong super cheesy carbonara. Wala na, the expectation did not, I mean the actual did not meet the expectation. So the reality didn't meet expectation. So don't be like that. Make sure nga you have enough capital to run your business, start it, maintain it, so that people's expectations will always be met. Okay? Number 7, assuming debt too early. So some of the firms attempted to obtain debt financing too soon and in too large an amount. This led to debt service problems. Now, I don't know if you guys know some people in your lives that have gone through this problem, but that's true. Ako, I don't like to make it a habit na if you start a business, imong utangon ng imuhang capital. Sometimes that happens, and actually big businesses, they really do this. That's like they live off of debts, of loans as corporations, and they can afford it anyway. However, ako, it's, for me, I personally would prefer nga ayaw lang sa og loan kung dili sa jud kinahanglan, or if kinahanglan nimo, please like let the loan be the last thing that you're going to do, because if you get too much of an amount nga imong i-loan in the beginning, unya pagkahuman di ka break even, sao man na nimo? Okay, you might end up going bankrupt, and then your personal belongings might even be taken if your business is sole proprietorship or a type of partnership nga dili limited. So, make sure nga you don't assume debt too early, nga dili ka magsigig utang-utang or mo mangutang kag dako kaayo, nagsugod pa lang sa imong business. Bana asad nga insakto lang. Ayaw gyud, for me personally gyud, I make sure nga if mag-business ka, ayaw gyud kaayo nga mangutang ka og amount nga you don't have the capacity to be able to pay that. You're not assured pa nga makabayad ka. Okay, and then lastly, venture capital relationship problems. So differing goals, visions, and motivations of the entrepreneur and venture capitalist resulted in problems for the enterprise. So venture capital is basically when you have a business idea and then there is a party outside that is interested to fund your project or your product. And then when you guys initially agree, kay murag, nindot kayong idea, ganahan sad kaayo ang financer. Later on, as the months go by, you guys realize nga both of you, abi ninyo nga mao na to, you had a mutual understanding. Pero yun pala after a few months, parang, wow, you're not what I thought you were. Or parang we have different goals pala. Parang iba pa, I mean, parang we click lang sa first presentation of one another's ideas. Pero later on, we're so different, DI. We have different goals, visions, and motivations. So that's it. That's also one reason why business ventures fail. Kasi maling akala. Yung akala mo na yun, pero hindi pala, iba pala siya. Correct. So, Mona siya. That is the eighth reason why new ventures fail. Okay, so now let's go on to this slide that I made to be super bright. Managerial problems involve two important factors. Okay, so business ventures also fail because of managerial or human related problems. Okay, so concept of a team approach and human resource problems. First, concept of a team approach. The following problems associated with a managerial team were found: hiring and promotion on the basis of nepotism rather than qualification. So sometimes our businesses fail because ang tao nga atong gi-hire because of nepotism rather than gi-hire nato kay worth it siya, kamao siya mo trabaho. And in the Philippines, uso kay ni kanang dali kay maikog ang mga business owners. Like, uy, kuan na lang imong auntie or imong uncle, ay siya lang kay maikog ta basig malain kung dili nato kwaon. Unya pagkahuman ka na siya dili tapulan kayo ni ka ba kay wa mo trabaho og insakto. But you end up hiring them because of kana nepotism. No, okay? When we hire people, we need to make sure that we hire them based on their qualifications and not because of kaikog or because kaila nimo. Okay? Because unsa man nimo kaila nimo, kung dili gyud siya kamao sa trabaho. Okay? What's gonna happen is once imo unta siyang kaila, dili na mo mag-ila-ila after. Kay murag naglagot naman mo usag-usa because it's just not gonna work. So, to preserve relationships sometimes, you have to say no nga murag. Kanang like, if na kay kailang siya, uy, ako lang ang buhat anime siya. Ingna nga. Uy, ikaw ha, dili ka ba kay bawar ba ko ha nga, dili ka ba nini mo strength? Or murag, uy, ikaw strength nini mo, pero haskang pagkatabulanan ni mo, dili ko. I-prove sa na ko, baby, before ti ka i-hire. So, kana siya, make sure nga they're qualified. Okay? Number 2, poor relationships with parent companies and venture capitalists. I already mentioned this earlier. Na sometimes, you have differing visions. And because you have differing visions, motives, and desires, that's exactly why you guys don't talk enough. And that's exactly why your relationship is poor because you never really agreed as business stakeholders. Okay? And then number 3, founders who focused on their weaknesses rather than on their strengths. Though weakening the company, they supposedly were building their skills. So sometimes there are some people nga murag obvious man kay nga dili nila strength. Uy, pagkahuman imbis nga they will work on what they know they are good at. Pugson yun nila ang butang nga dili sila maayo. We're gonna force on, like so for example, mag-restaurant ka, hindi mo kakibaw maluto. So, unsaon man na nimo ayaw og focus sa imong mga weakness kay moingon ka nga, in the process, I'm gonna get better. No, be your best before you go out and like share it to the world, whatever your business idea is. So play on your strengths and not on your weaknesses. Yes, we will develop on our weaknesses, but don't make it your priority. Unaha sa imong strength, and then as your strength gains momentum, you hinay-hinay work on your weaknesses. And then number 4, incompetent support professionals. Example, attorneys who are unable to read contracts or collect on court judgments that already had been made. Now, this applies to, and this is really true, there are some businesses out there that fail because there was one wrong legal move by your accountant, by your attorney, or by your bookkeeper. So make sure that the support services that you do get for your business really know what they're talking about. Because daghan ba ya bookkeepers karon nga murag You know, they let you pay a retainer's fee, but they don't really know what they're doing. They're not really updated with the new laws. They're not really knowledgeable about the new processes or even the current processes that the government requires of businesses. So make sure hangin yung lawyer, bookkeeper, accountant, they are updated. They know what they're talking about. Or else, you hire the wrong one, tako kay kagbayaran sa BIR later on. Okay, if sipyat ang iyang computation, sipyat ang iyahang timing, uy, ting-submit na sa ato ang ITR, ting-submit na sa ato ang mga form, ingon ani, niya pagkahuman mo, ano magbubuhat, sige, ipasira jud ka ni Osman niya. Okay, kay baltaan na, di ba? Natoy sikat kaayo nga lechon nga gapasira niya kay wala ni abide sa registration, something like that. And who would have known? The business owner would have like so pila ka good na. Pero kinsa may sad-an adto? Well, obviously, ang support service na that's supposed to maintain the permits. Pag-renew, angay i-renew, wala i-renew kay confident kaayo ang awa. They lost millions and they lost their momentum. And when they started reopening, wa na pandemic na kinsa pa may muka og lechon. Nga lechon is usually eaten as a group. Social distancing, kanon ni mong lechon, ikaw ka usa. Mamatay kag heart attack. So, make sure that you have competent support professionals. That's not gonna get you in trouble. And then obviously we have human resource problems sa inflated owner ego, we know that, employee-related concerns, and control factors were all problems that led to business failure. The study also revealed such interpersonal problems such as number 1, kickbacks and subsequent firings that resulted in an almost total loss of customers. So sometimes we let go of our people and then what na? Kanang wala na say mo support or mutabang sa atong mga customers, or we don't have enough manpower to keep on going with our business. Okay? And number 2, deceit on the part of a venture capitalist in one case and on the part of a company president in another. So I think this is kind of, we as young US students, and those of us that have been fortunate enough to work for companies that did not see relational problems like this. But I know that, well, I'm sure that you guys have seen teleseries that, the president betrayed this and that, blah, blah, blah. Si chairman, inaway si president ganito. Okay, so, kung mag-away gani ng top management, enjoy na lang mo diha sa middle-lower management. Okay? And then number 3, verbal agreements between the entrepreneur and the venture capitalists that were not honored. Yun man yun na, if promises are not kept, sakit man jud. And because sakit na mawad-an na kagana, and dili na ninyo ipadayon, murag minimum effort until the next thing you know, wala na di ay yun. Okay, so that happens in businesses. So we need to make sure that when we make promises, we keep them. Okay, and then lastly, for protracted lawsuits around the time of discontinuance. So sometimes when you think that this is the end of our kuan, we just have to file with the government, matingana lang ka nga murag, kuy, there are some complaints that were put up against you, and back ka ng na bankrupt na gani ka, napakay mga bayaran nga damages. Okay, so we have to make sure that we think about these things before we when we write a feasibility study for a business or a business plan for our business endeavors. We always need to consider everything, market research good, so that higher ang chances na mo succeed ka. Okay? So traditional venture evaluation process, there are 4 things. Profile analysis approach. So profile analysis approach is a tool that enables entrepreneurs to judge a business venture by checking the strengths and weaknesses. So sometimes, guys, before we pursue a certain business venture, we have to assess ourselves and our business, unsa man atong strengths and unsa man ang atong weaknesses. Because if you don't check these, if you don't measure up how you fare against existing competitors, then you only start a business only to end it also very soon. Di man gud na pwede nga you bring yourself out there nga wala jud ka wa jud ka nag-prepare, wa nimo gitan-aw unsa day imong mga kuwang ug unsa day ang imuhang mga strengths. Because our strengths we use to our advantage, mao gyud na imo i-magnify, imong weakness imuhang i-improve. So let's have a profile analysis, and that's exactly why since last year we've been asking for a SWOT analysis. And karon for your feasibility study, we only focused on having an opportunities and threats analysis. That's exactly why you guys had to create that katong best analysis. Okay, and the next is feasibility criteria approach. So what is feasibility criteria approach? A criteria selection list based on the following questions from which entrepreneurs can gain insights into the viability of their venture. So number one, is it proprietary? The product doesn't have to be patented, but it should be sufficiently proprietary to permit a long head start against competitors in a period of extraordinary profits early in the venture to offset startup costs. So sometimes we have an idea, dili na inyo ipa-patent, you have to make sure na this idea is also so quite unique. It's going to take a while for others to copy your idea or to come up with a business model that is like yours. Okay, yours is very different, it's special, it's a process that only you know. So make sure para na kay head start over everybody else, before everybody else starts copying your idea. Okay, and then number two, are initial production costs realistic? So as most estimates are too low, and then adding mga unexpected na costs. So siguro nga you guys not just you guys think about the financial aspect of things, because in business gasto tanan kada lihok na igasto. So make sure nga naga-estimate yun mo, naga-liquidate yun mo, inyo yun nang gi-budget tanan. Okay, number three, are the initial marketing costs realistic? The answer requires the venture to identify target markets, market channels, and promotional strategy. What good is a product if nobody knows about it? So make sure that you have the budget for marketing costs. And then, does the product have potential for very high margins? Because if dili kasagkay ka mo profit from this product, yan nag-business pa man ka, nganong ni-enter? Kung gamay ka day kayo imuhang makuha nga kwarta from that business. Okay? It's not that we're aiming for like gabi-gabi sa nga mag-uros-uros na profits, but if ang imuhang sweldo as a regular employee is even bigger than how much you would earn as a business owner, yeah, what na kay tuog diha, tanan risks nga pwede i-risk nga risk nga nimo mag-business, magpadayon ka taani. So make sure in town nga worth it sad siya nga na or sad siya very good profit margins. Okay, and then number 5, is the time required to get to market and reach the break-even point realistic? In most cases, the faster the better. In all cases, the venture plan will be tied to this answer, and error here can spell trouble later on. So we have to make sure, guys, nga ang atong break-even point, okay, it's something that we know will happen soon, and hopefully sooner than the plan. Like for example, most restaurants or most businesses will break even at sila after the 3rd year. Now, if maka-break even ta, meaning ang gastos nato, tanang gastos nato sa business, na-cover na sa ato ang revenue less tax, then we can say nga it's a good venture. It's something that we could invest in, because ang iyahang break-even point, if our sales meet a certain quota every day for the next X years para maabotaan ang break-even point, then by all means go on with the venture. And if you meet the break-even point sooner than the estimated time of break-even, then better. And that's really what everybody wants. Okay, and number 6 is the potential market large. In determining the potential market, entrepreneurs must look to 3 to 5 years into the future, because some markets take this long to emerge. So sometimes when you have an idea, you think, people, it's gonna love it just because you do. You have to make sure that there are enough people out there that is willing to buy your product and support your business in the event that you do put up one. Kay unsa man nimo ang produkto kung gamay nga kang tao ang ganahan ana aron mapalit ana. Okay? And sometimes it will take a few years before a product, before a market really solidifies and matures para sa klase sa produkto nga imong produce. Let's take, for example, the fidget spinner. I don't have one because I don't like it. But my nieces and nephew, they had fidget spinners. And I know that they've been around for quite a while, but then boom to siya for like a few years. And then after that, wala na. Nobody really cares about fidget spinners anymore. So mana siya, you don't want to like produce so much of a certain product only to find out that your market is not going to be that interested for long in your product. So kind of make sure that you have a potential market that's large and that's going to be around for quite some time. Okay, does the initial customer exist? This is similar with what we had just talked about, that to make sure na ay not only a large market, but basta na ay market also. And then number 7 is, number 8 is the product the first of a growing family. So, ang naka-attractive pod with certain ventures is if when you sell a product, you can expand the product line. So, you can either expand it with depth or length. Okay? So, make sure nga kanamurag, you can add accessories, you can add new versions of that, or you can give a cousin product that will supplement your product. Then it's going to be more attractive to investors to actually spend their money on you. And then 8 or 9, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, are the development costs in calendar times realistic? So kana siya, I always tell you guys, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound ang ato ang goals. So mag-plan gani ta. Okay, hopefully, nga we will stick to it and realistic ang mga numbers na naatihan. Okay? And then, is this a growing industry? Which is also similar to katong, is there a potential market? And then, is this market growing? And then, in this industry, are there enough, is it one where when you enter, it's not that saturated, so you know nga not everybody's product is maturing or even declining? Is it a growing type of industry where a lot of people are still interested and able to innovate the product in a way nga murag dili siya kanang mo plateau ang life cycle sa product, but instead it's growing? A lot of people are still interested in the ways that this product could evolve and in the ways that this product could improve, rather than saying, you know what, this is the best, this is the most that a certain product can ever be. And therefore, from that maturity, mo start ng decline, and then mawa na yun siya ng product. Some new and improved substitute went into the market. So make sure nga you are a part of a growing industry. And then, can the product and the need for it be understood by the financial community? If financiers can grasp the concept and its value, the chances for funding will increase. This is obvious. This is quite self-explanatory. If as a financer, like if I was a banker and I was trying to there's somebody applying for a loan, and sometimes when you apply for a loan in a bank, they're going to ask a business plan. And if they see that your business is not really giving any value to the customers, they're going to decline. They're not going to release that loan. So you have to make sure that your business is of value enough for banks and other financial institutions that could fund you to say yes. So be of value para they will say yes. Okay? Now, let's go to the traditional venture evaluation process. So comprehensive feasibility approach. And this is actually what we're trying to do in our project feasibility study. We're studying the technical, market, financial, organization, and competitive dimensions of the business, of the organization. So this is the figure. Take a look. Okay, so technical feasibility, marketability. Now, don't worry, in the next few months, we are going to talk about technical feasibility and then the marketability. This is the next topic, actually. So we are, when it comes to comprehensive feasibility approach, it means that every single sulok of a certain business atong gitanaw before makaingon ta nga, you know what? Yes, based on all of this data, we are good to go. We can launch this business. We have a future together. So this is what we want to do for your business plan, for your business that you want to put up for entrepreneurship. And that's why our feasibility plan is quite long, because we want you to do it now, as early as now, because we know that not everybody is going to go on to proceed with college, or maybe there are some businesses that you might want to start even at an early age, or help your family businesses, for example, especially for those that are struggling with the pandemic. So I hope that the concepts being taught here will help them, or help you come up with a business idea that has considered all the different factors that could be an opportunity or a threat for your business venture. So yeah, as the semester unfolds, we are going to talk about technical feasibility, market feasibility, financial, organizational, and we're already doing this competitive analysis. Okay, so I'm going to end right now. I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to record again later, but I'm going to cut the video here so that you can take a break also, and then maybe watch the next video during another time. So that's it. Thank you guys so much. That's the introduction to market research. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to send me a message on Messenger. But before you do, hopefully you can refer to the book for clarification first, or you can ask your classmates for certain concepts that they think that you think they understood that you didn't, because there's also um, there's a way that people your age are able to make you understand things, sometimes even better than a teacher. It doesn't negate the necessity of having teachers, but peer discussions really help sometimes. So, and then the fact also that it's a pandemic, guys, daghan jud kay questions sa inbox sa teachers. So, send me a message. Of course, I welcome all questions. But if you can ask others before you end up like asking me, because like last resort na yun na siya, then okay. All right. I welcome all questions because that's what teachers are here for. We are here to not mock ignorance, but to help ignorance. So there you go. I don't know how long this discussion has been, but I hope you guys are still alive. So take care, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Bye-bye. Okay.